this needs to be heard. I feel like this song is really fitting to our day and age. Hey everybody, it's your girl Rosalie. Welcome back to the Ultimate World Music Reaction Channel, diving into music from all around the globe and psychology. I'm honored that you're here. We're going to check out something special today. Several of you have been asking me to check out an artist named Dax, D-A-X. And Dax is an artist from Canada, St. John's, Canada. Now, I don't know much about him at all. His real name, if I saw correctly, born as Daniel Daxton Muzicle Nwozu Jr. in St. John's, Canada. I think he's Nigerian Canadian. Is that right? And I was told to check out his songs because I think some of you have said that you feel his music would be very fitting to this channel because he talks about meaningful things, deeper topics. I've been told that he has a very unique style, very just artistic, eccentric, interesting. And then, check this out. Homeboy follows me on Instagram and likes a few of my posts. And so I check out his Instagram and I want to share a couple of things with you. So I've been meaning to check out his work either way because you've been asking, and I plan to check out more of his songs as time goes on. But for today, I want to check out his brand new single that he put out. And now when I saw him follow me, I'm like, wait a minute, is that the Dax? Like the Dax? That's Dax? Check him out on Instagram. Sure enough, he had posted something where he was promoting his upcoming single, and that's what we're going to check out today. And when I saw some of these images, first of all, picture of him, face painted black with a white puzzle piece in the middle on the cheek, and a tattoo, speak life into existence. And that already had my attention because I thought, if that's not fitting to what I say over and over again when I talk about choosing life and what we say and what we do. And so I'm swiping through his post. Check it out on Instagram if you like. And there's various quotes like, people will never truly understand something until it happens to them. Valid. Good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. Agreed. Biggest communication problem is we don't listen to understand, we listen to reply. I've heard that before, and I think it's very true and convicting. To have someone understand your mind is a different type of intimacy. So there was all these different posts, and then even in a more recent post of his, where he was reminding everyone of the upcoming work. Another interesting post, an image of him with his face painted blue and yellow and crying tears of blue, saying, you're all here because two people made a decision. The creation of a life, without a doubt, is the most single important thing in the world. And in my opinion, communication between the two parties that create that life has been attacked and undervalued. And so I'm seeing these posts and I'm thinking to myself, oh snap. He, for one, is saying some things that are very necessary in our day and age, things that are profound and meaningful, but where is he going with this? And so I was very honored that he checked out my Instagram page or his team. And when I saw that he has a new song out, I decided what better way to get an introduction to the world of Dax. All the links below to the original video so you can subscribe to his work. And I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I'm about to get into, but I'm going to check out his brand new video just to help showcase his work. So make sure to check it out. The original is in the description. Make sure to subscribe if you're interested. And for those of you who've been waiting for me to check out certain songs of his that he's already put out, those are coming. So don't worry, step by step. But let's just give this a try. To be a man. What it's like to be a man. That title in and of itself. Oh, snap. In a day and age where there's a lot of division in regards to toxic and masculinity and femininity, when we talk about the red versus the blue pill, we won't go into what all that means. When we talk about the modern woman versus trad wife, right? Traditional wife, and all these trends on TikTok, and everybody and their mama got an opinion. And we have all this division. For the most part, social media would really having us believe there's division of what it means to be a man and a woman. Debates quickly getting heated. A lot of times where I agree with his post, we don't listen to understand. We would just listen to reply. Social media is the perfect example of that. And so we're getting deep. We haven't even seen the video yet. But when I saw that he titled a video To Be a Man, and this is my first time listening to this artist. I may have heard clips here, like of pieces of the rap or his voice. I feel, maybe not. I don't know. But I don't know who he is. I know nothing of his work except the things you've shared with me. And so I'm curious to see what's about to happen here, because that whole topic, masculinity, macho and toxic masculinity versus feminine men versus what does it mean to be a man? What is a woman, right? You got all these hot topics out there where there's a lot of pressure on both men and women. And I think we're at a time now where there's been a big focus, and rightfully so, there needs to be a focus on womanhood and the value of the woman. There is also the need for a conversation about what does it mean to be a man, because just as much as women deserve to be esteemed for the value and for the intelligence and strength they bring to the table, men should too. And if we try to uplift women by tearing men down, whom we need in a family, in a household, in a structure of a society, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're doing ourselves a great disservice. So that's just my thought when I hear the word, what it's like to be a man. To be a man. I have no idea where he's going with this. He could be saying something completely opposite, but that's what I'm thinking of. What does it mean to be a man? Now, I will never know because I'm not a man, but I have men in my life who I respect, who I love, and many of you watching these channels are men. And so I would love to hear from you even as we get started. Just type, where you're watching from and what you think it is to be a man. Specifically the men out there. Of course, ladies, share what the men in your life mean to you and what you think being a man represents to you as a female, of course. But men, I'd love to know what you think about this song, what you think about the title, To Be a Man.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Yeah, I know this life can really beat you.
Oh, he's already going deep from the get-go. Is that him singing? I think so. I know he raps as well, I believe, right? But I like his timbre and the texture of his voice. I'm going to start over. Already those few phrases. Let me know in the comments right now. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think about this? There's a lot of good stuff to talk about here. Oh, I think y'all were right. I think this is exactly the type of stuff we like to do. Here we go.
I can't hide myself.
Almost has a country vibe.
I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Yeah, I know this life can really beat you down. You wanna scream, but you won't make a sound. Got so much weight that you've been holding, but won't show any emotion. As a man that goes unspoken, that we can't cry when life gets hard. Unconditional loves for women, children, and dogs. We know that we just have to play our parts, and don't nobody give a damn about our broken hearts. Yeah, as a man we gotta pave our way. Our only function is to work and slave. There's no respect for you if you ain't paid. You're disregarded as a human and you can't complain.
Wow. Okay, so it really has a country vibe, and I had to laugh because he's talking about wife, children, and dogs, and I feel like the dog and the relationships are typical in country when it comes to songwriting. I don't want to talk about the lyrics yet. Let's enjoy the song. Let's experience it. But shoo, this needs to be heard. It's a beautiful composition. It's really just, it almost makes me sad, like emotionally. We're about psychology, all about music and psychology, and the impact lyrics and the music has. The composition of this track, that beat that kicks in after a little while, the piano accompanying it, his voice, it gives it a ballad feel. And of course, in combination with the video and the lyrics, it makes it more of a sad, somber, reflective song. But it's interesting because such a soft written song, if you will, a tender approach to the topic is so fitting, because masculinity is often considered something that shouldn't be soft. And just as a side note, for whoever you are, look at this with an open mind, because I think sometimes because we like to box things in to feel safe, regardless if you like country or not, regardless if you agree with the lyrics or not, I think it's important to practice what he said in his Instagram post, not just to listen to reply, but listen to understand. Let me keep going.
And if you ever make it up and actually reach that place and find a woman that you love and give her your last name, you'll feel the things that you provide is only why she stays. And when you try to explain, you'll say, I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Don't give up, keep fighting. As a man, our sun is our horizon, and our father's actions play a role, and we end up like them. So they can't let us see them hurt, cause we'll embody what they do and start a generational curse. No wonder most men are so depressed, all the things that they can't express. They go to war, get thrown on the shelf, then go back to war with their mental health. Then grab that bottle and ask for help, try to pull themselves out of hell, then fall back down and then realize that they're gonna have to do it themselves. It's the circle of life. As a man, you provide. They don't know what you're worth till the day that you die, and that's when they start crying. Then move on to a man to confide in. That's why we feel we can't hide ourselves. We don't expect you to understand. We just hope we can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and you don't care about what we know. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. Inside that home. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. Inside that home.
Wow. Okay, this was very different than what I expected. I'm excited to check out more of his work because I have a feeling that there are a whole lot of different facets to this guy. It's unique to me as he was getting people ready for this track that he had his face painted and then that puzzle piece, almost like a missing puzzle piece or a puzzle piece present on his face. You could look at it either way because it was painted black and white. Either like something's missing, trying to put together the puzzle pieces. There's symbolism even within that. But let me stop for a second. Men, especially you out there, how did that just make you feel? Now, ironically, I'm asking you how it made you feel right after we sung, I was about to say, because it's almost a song where you want to sing along. It's almost like this beautiful ballad where it's hard not to sing with him, and that's well written and well composed. But that's a side note. Just as he finished singing, it's hard to hide and it's hard to show that, to hope others could understand. I'm literally asking, let me know how you feel about this. I understand that's a paradox because he literally just explained that many men feel like it doesn't matter what they feel. But I would encourage you. I know I'm a female asking you this, and that's different than if it comes from a guy. I think him singing this as a man, and a manly man at that, he didn't come across, when I saw pictures and I saw this video, I took him serious as a man, as an artist. The way he presents himself, his tattoo, his awesome hairstyle, the chains, like he doesn't give me an impression of a more feminine man. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he came across as a masculine man who knows who he is and is working on his career and is doing his thing. I believe I heard and was told he's an independent artist, okay? So that type of song coming from a manly man, a masculine man who, is a man, it's perceived different, I would argue, even psychologically, than if I were to sing that song or any female artist. So I understand it may feel weird at me as a female. If I as a female ask you, hey, how does this song make you feel? Because we literally just got done talking about why, men are expected not to feel. But if you want to, I would encourage you to express a little bit as much as you're comfortable. what does that have? What an impact does that have on you? And then to the ladies out there, I would like for you to share, do you feel like there's men in your life who may agree with this song? Do you see that in some of the men in your life? Beautiful song, very different than what I expected. Again, I'm going to check out more of his work. So if you're here because you want to see me explore this artist, and you had other songs in mind because this may be very different than what he usually does, I don't know. Don't worry, more coming. But I wanted to do this as my first introduction to him because it looked like it was going to be deep, and I was right. And I want this reaction to be another way to support him and to get people to get to his content. So check out the original video right now and enjoy it. Subscribe to his channel. All the links below. Lyrics, to be a man, I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. Very straightforward lyrics, beautifully written, clear in their message, but still personal to the individual listener. And I like that. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. Okay, so there's from the get-go, we're going to take this apart just a little bit, the way I'm interpreting this psychologically. From the get-go, there's this idea of I can't hide myself versus saying I must hide. I feel like I need to hide. The feeling I got from that song is that many men feel like they need to hide. They need to keep it all on lockdown. But by saying I can't hide myself, to me, I would interpret that as either I'm done hiding, I can't keep doing this, I can't hide how I'm feeling. Why should they? Why should men have to hide themselves? I don't expect you to understand. That to me also sets a tone of, from the get-go, I'm letting you know, you probably won't get it. And nobody really likes to hear that. I mean, those of you in relationships, marriages, or whoever have been in a friendship and a marriage and any type of dynamics where you're more intimate with someone emotionally, intellectually, if you have a conversation and they start with, I don't think you're going to get it, or I don't expect you to understand, that shows a level of guardedness, right? That doesn't show that this person feels safe to trust, to let their guard down. And I think for a man to tell someone, women, other men, even harder to tell another man, I think probably, but correct me if I'm wrong, to tell someone, hey, I don't think you will understand. I don't expect you to understand, but this is how I feel. This is what my reality is. That takes a lot of courage. And here's why. For one, when we tell somebody how we feel and we let them in, we're making ourselves vulnerable. And when it comes to emotional matters, I think it's even harder for men. Women are expected to be emotional. And it's understandable. Most people, if they saw a woman cry, wouldn't go, oh my gosh, what's wrong with her? You know, not just sadness, even anger, frustration, right? It's expected. That's what women do. There's plenty of things going around right now in the web where things are done in the name of womanhood, where women are getting angry because we feel mocked, because there's so much more to us than frolicking and jumping around and giggling and not knowing how to exercise and work out. And, you know, there's this tension in our society right now, what it means to be a man and women standing up going, that's not what we are. Don't mock us, right? Just as much there are people groups in this world who want recognition and inclusivity as well, saying, wait a minute, I want to belong. Don't exclude me. Don't tell me that I'm not this or that. And so we got this whole spiel, and then we got feelings versus science, and just there's a lot of tension, and I have to be careful with the words that I use, but I think you're following. In that whole dilemma of what it means to be a man and a woman, men, I think, are in a similar place, but from a completely different angle. When a man shows emotions, I think it's a surprise. I think it catches people off guard. Now, for men in relationships, they may feel more comfortable to talk to their spouse, and over the course of time, they open up. But that's not to say that that doesn't take them courage and strength, too. I just hope I can explain. That in itself takes courage. When you have someone who's guarded, who's expected to be strong and to keep it together, it takes courage to say, I don't expect you to get it. I can't expect others to really know what it's like to be a man. And that's true. We don't, even in Dax's Instagram post, I think there was the quote that said, we don't know what it's like unless we've lived that. We can empathize. Empathy is a powerful human tool to connect with one another and great therapy. However, we will never fully know to 100% what it means to be in that other person's shoes. And it's a lonely road. And so those words like dog and lonely and road, obviously very country-like, fitting to the genre and this composition. They don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Now, this is what's interesting. I think in the transition of society, at least in the West, where feminism has grown stronger and where, understandably so, there was a need for women to feel seen and not belittled, not less than, fighting for their rights, for equality, etc. in certain circles, you have, I feel, a transition to the other extreme, where if we say that there is such a thing as toxic masculinity, some would agree, some would disagree. We, to be fair and to be equal, have to say toxic femininity is a thing too. I think for the longest time, maybe even some women or certain feminists would have argued, yeah, we do care what men know. Everybody cares what men know. That's all that it matters, right? The issue is that people don't care what women know, right? They're looked at as less intelligent or less powerful or less capable, but we do care what men know. This claim here is saying they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Now, let's take that for a second before some get defensive and go, that's not true. Let's listen to understand. Yes, in certain circles, it matters what men know. They're in a position of power. They're CEOs. They're at a job, and it helps what they know. But I don't think this is just talking about professional knowledge, because that too ultimately just leads to what they can provide. Even if you have someone who knows a bunch and he's respected, and the woman is the one who has to compete in the workforce and is less respected for what she knows or can do, at the end of the day, when it comes to men, a lot of it does boil down to what they provide. Let's be real for a second. I saw a funny post the other day on social media, and there was validity to it. It was a female asking a guy how tall he is, and he responded, and then he asked her how heavy she is, and she got upset. And it was just probably a staged little online dating conversation. But when women are asked how much they weigh, or they're criticized for their appearance, or they're told, yo, men like youth, they like virginity, they don't want a high body count, and they don't like unhealthy females, obesity and such, a lot of women would get defensive and say, why does that matter, right? And I think in our hurt, just from a female perspective, we're quick, if we're not careful, again, because it gives us safety and comfort, we're quick to generalize, right? Oh, all men just want sex. All men are just pigs. All men are this and that. But just as much as we don't want to be just generalized into what we've done or what we look like, men should not experience that treatment either. But the matter of the fact is, and that's where I have to agree with these lyrics, a lot of it is about what you can provide. Just as much as a man has standards and shouldn't be faulted for having preferences, a woman shouldn't be faulted for having preferences. But I think sometimes the double standard in the West is that women don't want to be told that virginity and youth is better, that they need to take care of themselves, that it's attractive when a woman knows how to take care of the home and kids and a man. That's frowned upon in the West more and more, right? Oh, it's old-fashioned 1950s, right? But if a woman says she wants someone tall and someone with good money, that's expected. The more money you make, the better you're looked at, right? A woman will not be attracted to a broke guy, even if he's super handsome. If he lives in his mama's basement and he can't take care of her, that's frowned upon. That's not attractive. And that's understandable. Women shouldn't be faulted for having a preference, wanting an attractive man and someone who can provide. Because women, we look for safety. As men want to be respected, women want to be loved. They want to feel secure. And unfortunately, if we're not careful, that division just widens the gap between men and women. And we start looking at one another as the enemies, as if one or the other is the victim, instead of working together and realizing we are different. That's okay. We have to understand we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we all can learn to complement one another like a puzzle piece, the way that he had that puzzle piece painted on his face. They won't talk about their feelings much, kind of like we see in the video. A man at the verge of tears for whatever reason, whatever he's going through, but he sucks it up and he, is strong for his little girl and his wife as he comes home, right? These men that are going through the motions, their 9-to-5 jobs, working hard to provide. And I think sometimes we forget that, at least I maybe as a woman do, that men have just as much burden to carry, the expectations, not only from society, but even in their own families, expected to be strong, expected to provide. And I can imagine that for some men, many men perhaps, it's hard to open themselves up, for one, to other men, because they don't want to be looked at as weak or too feminine, or, right, like they don't have their stuff together. Even from a sociological and anthropological standpoint, consider that. Back in the day, men were the hunters and the women were, the gatherers and the homemakers. If you looked weak to other men in your tribe or to other tribes, you're in trouble, right? It's an animalistic thing to a degree. You've got to be the alpha until somebody else shows up and challenges you. So I think some of that is kind of innate biologically in men, this desire to be strong, this need to be strong in order to survive. How are you going to protect your home? Now, ironically, and this is where men and women, we need to learn that we can complement one another like a puzzle. We need to learn that Sometimes women feel more secure when the man opens up. Ironically, at least that's been my experience, that when a man becomes vulnerable, now if he had a mental breakdown every 5 minutes, I think many women would start being concerned. But I feel where the man feels like he can't show any of that, he needs to be strong because he doesn't want his wife to worry that she can't lean on him. Sometimes levels of vulnerability and transparency, communication and honesty make the woman feel safer. Sometimes, just like in a friendship, when you start opening up to the other, it can start feeling more safe because now the woman might go, oh, wow, he loves me so much, he let me into his heart. He never does that, right? This is special. And the woman being the nurturer a lot of times, many of them wanting to nurture and care and love, it may sometimes increase respect if you're with a healthy woman, if you're with the right relationship. And I have a chance to be strong for him sometimes. And I have a chance to nurture and care. And there's a strength to it, but it's a different strength than masculine energy. And when we learn to come together, it can beautifully complement. But I know that's hard because the female's strength is different and the way she may respond to his issues. It depends on the woman too. When a man shares his struggles, temptations, and issues, not all women are going to have the strength, emotional intelligence, or the healing to go, I understand, no problem, thank you so much for opening up, right? Depending on what the man shares, it might create insecurities in her. What do you mean you're struggling with this, right? And she feels less safe. So it depends on what is being shared, and it depends on who you're sharing it with, and it depends on the level of healing. And that's where both men and women have to do the work to grow and heal. Now, I'm speaking of male and female dynamics. I think there's also something very important to be said about men reaching out to other men. I think we live in a very fatherless generation, many absent fathers, and I like what he says in the second part when he speaks of this cycle. And I think that is also very important. You copy what you have been taught, what you see, and we repeat these generational cycles. We cannot allow the toxicity of social media, the division that is trying to be planted. We cannot allow that to infiltrate our homes. We need you men. We need men as fathers, as husbands. It's not the same. We need mothers. Don't get me wrong. There's something powerful about a woman and a mother's love. But a child needs their dad. I don't care what you say. You cannot do it by yourself. That goes both ways. As much as we want to be able to do it by ourselves, we need one another like a puzzle. And there's something about that male energy from a strength standpoint, from an authority standpoint, from just simply the energy in the room. It does something when there's a man. There's something so beautiful when men come together and sing some of those deep bass lines or the strength of a man. You saw that when I reacted to The Who and their woman's song, but also their song, The Wolf Totem. It was powerful. There was so much male energy. That's what I would want if my village was under attack. And so there's something powerful about the male strength. But there's also something beautiful about male vulnerability when comfort, emotional assurance, understanding, listening comes from the father, from the man. That does something with the person in their development. And if they have been given that, they can pass it on to their sons. I'd be curious to know how many of you feel that way if nobody gives it a dang. But I do feel like in the West, it's moving that way where, yeah, if men stand up and go, hey, we matter too, there'd be groups that go, yeah, you've been mattering. That's not the issue. And that's where we need to learn to listen, to understand, and not be so quick to respond. As a man, we got to pave our way. Our only function is to work and slave. There's no respect for you if you ain't paid. And there's validity in that. Again, a lot of man's worth is tied to income and success. Don't give up. Keep fighting. So now comes the encouragement, right? We're talking about the experience and feelings. Now we're talking about what to do next. As a man, our sun is our horizon. Something beautifully said here when it comes to existential matters. Understanding that our children, for a man, also his son, because he continues that legacy. Not to take away from daughters. We saw in the video that beautiful love between the daughter and her father, and that's a very special, necessary bond for the human heart and human development. But for a man, a son often also represents living on. Right? You leave on your legacy. He carries your name, right? The woman often will take the man's name, so the son perpetuates his father's legacy. It's that horizon. And that in itself is an interesting way to paint some of those death anxieties and some of those existential fears that men may experience as they try to propel themselves into the future. Our father's actions play a role and we end up like them. So they can't let us see them hurt because we'll embody what they do. And that's interesting, a paradox almost, if you will. On one hand, I think many men feel like they need to be strong because they are afraid that if their sons, their children see them hurting, and they'll embody that, and that generational curse continues. But I think there's something powerful about a man being whole and healed within himself, that he can do both, be strong and guidance and leadership and discipline, but also be nurturing and kind. And I know I'm saying this as a woman. Maybe that male nurturing is something as a woman or daughter I would need more than a son. Correct me if I'm wrong. What do you think? But I do think that boys need that too, that there's something really special about the tender hug and care and assurance of a man. And that's different even for a son to come from dad. And I feel like that's part of what can be done to stop that cycle of men feeling like they can't cry and like their feelings don't matter. But I feel like the song is really fitting to our day and age. I feel like it's very fitting and necessary to talk about these things. I feel like in a lot of these expressions, there's a lot of courage for one to say this. Second of all, I feel like it really showcases some of those existential fear, the angst that men experience when it comes to their existence. Sometimes I think we forget that men have those fears and existential crises just as much as women do. But it's talked about more when it comes to women, right? Oh, we want to be respected on our career. We don't just want to be seen as wife and mother. We don't just want to be all about our body. We don't just want to be, we want to be, treated with respect. We want to be someone's queen. We don't want to be cheated on, right? There's a lot of this, who we want, what we want, who we want to be. Woman power, value, there's a month for women. It's a whole Women History Month. There's a lot of focus on, and again, to a degree understandable because of what happened in the past, but a lot of focus on who we are as women, our opportunity to deal with our existential fears. And what I mean by existential fears is, what's the meaning of life? Who are we while we're here on this earth? Our search for value, our search for meaning, for purpose. But when it comes to men, how many men do we know who would honestly talk about their existential crises? Now, if we think about it long enough, we can see it if we pay close attention. But how many men talk about that and say, I have existential angst. I feel like I've not accomplished enough. I feel like I'm not worth more than what I make. I feel less than when I see these other men in suits with their fancy cars. Men feel those things too, even if they don't say them the way women would, even if they don't process them the way women would. Surely men feel that way when they're sitting somewhere and they see these fancy cars or some man ripped walking out of his fancy car, men that are working their butts off at their 9-to-5s, barely making it, trying to pay the bills, feeling like they're failing their wife, maybe feeling a sense of disappointment on their wife's face when they have to say no, when she asks for something or wants to go somewhere, or wants to be treated to something. Watching these movies with these men and unrealistic expectations of these men spoiling these women. And then, of course, you'll have women that say, oh, I don't need that. I can get that all for myself. I just want my man to, I don't know, be loyal. That's another topic, right? You have a lot of men, because of our hurt as women, if we're not careful, we will box men in and go, oh, they're just all about sex and they're just all perverts, right? And because women have been hurt, they now box men in just as much as hurt men will box women in. Oh, they're just all out gold diggers. They're all just whatever, We do that when there's hurt. But not all men are like that, for one. And men that are stuck in that, not to excuse bad choices, don't misunderstand, but men that are stuck in that have, been unfaithful, or that struggle with porn addiction, or that struggle with temptation, I can imagine that many of them are miserable, that many of them are not very proud of themselves. They feel dirty, they feel wrong, and it's really hard to get out because they are sexual beings. Now, we all are, men and women, but biologically, men are wired differently than women, and that desire to put themselves out in the world, if you know what I'm saying, and to procreate and to have those needs met, their chemistry and their bodies are wired different than women are. Now, that is not to excuse just going out and getting yours. Please don't misunderstand me. But they're wired different. They have these needs. They're more, oftentimes more visual than women are, where we're generally speaking. Women are more emotional and about touch and other senses. Men are very visual. And we live in a world where that's being abused, where of course, we need to practice self-control. Of course, men need to learn to practice just as much as women do self-control with what we look at and how we act. And it can be trained just as much as you can exercise your muscles. You can exercise to look the other way. Um, just as much as we can practice to keep our mouths shut, we can practice how much we're going to keep engaging with a thought. If something pops in our mind, that's because we're human. If we see something attractive, it's human. What we do with that is what matters. But we live in a day and age where it's really hard, where there's a lot of temptation, where men and women are being bombarded with sexualization, objectification, materialism. And so, just as much as women are being bombarded from a different angle with expectations and demands and feelings of insecurity and inadequacy and value and purpose, men have that too. And men are being bombarded with this pressure of the best car to drive and the nicest clothes to wear, the type of woman you're supposed to be with, and temptation, temptation, temptation. I can imagine many men who are struggling with some of that, who feel very small, who feel depressed and feel ashamed. Now, that is not to make excuses. Both men and women, we have got to take ownership and say, you know what, done. There are addicts out there, some of you who have shared your stories, who have worked so hard to get out and get help. And I'm so proud of you. And so I don't want to make excuses for those who continue to choose to not choose life. Every day we have a choice. But there's also hope in that statement. You have a choice. Today, choose life in what you watch and who you hang out with and what you say and what you think and what you do. Choose life for your marriages. Choose life for yourself, for your children. We have got to do better, and it's flipping hard work to break those generational curses and to say enough. It stops with me. But men, those of you who are watching, I know I'm saying a lot today. I want you to know that we see you. I want you to know that we are so flipping proud of you. As a society, I know I can't speak for all women. Many women may not agree with me, but as a woman, I'm gonna take it and speak for women. We need you. We need you as men. We need you as fathers. We need you as husbands. We need you as pillars of this society, so we all don't go to Schnitzeltown. We need men. That's not to take away from the need for women and their value, but it ain't about the women today, okay? It ain't about us. It's about the men. We need you. And I am so sorry where there has been messages where you've been told that you need to hide, that you wouldn't be understood, that you have to walk alone. Now, again, I know it'll sound different coming from me because I am a female. So, surround yourself with other men. I dare you. I know it's terrifying because you maybe have tried before and you were let down. But try to surround yourself with other men that know how to speak life. It's not just any man. There's men out there that will tear you down. There's men that will joke about you. If you open your heart, there's men that will spur you on to choose life. Surround yourself with good men. Many of you may not have a father figure that you can confide in and get guidance from. Maybe you can find a mentor or a male counselor or someone in a faith-based community where we can learn morals from one another. But you deserve to not have to walk alone. Your existential fears, your desire for purpose is just as important. Thank you, Dax, for sharing such a vulnerable song and talking about something that needs to be talked about, because men are under attack. Again, it's not about the woman today, so don't come at me with women are under attack too. It ain't about us right now. Plenty of women under attack. We're not even going to talk about that right now. We're talking about men. It's hard to be a man. I don't fully know. I've never walked in your shoes fully, but I can try to empathize. And I want you to know that we're proud of you. We are proud of you. We need you. Society needs you. No matter what certain people groups may want to say, we need you. In this day and age more than ever, we need fathers. Oh my gosh, we need fathers and men to step back up. I don't know what else to say. This was a beautiful song, nicely written, clear message, and I feel very relevant. And I applaud Dax with such a large platform to sing about that. I applaud it. I'm excited to check out more of his work. Check out the original. Go watch the original if you haven't yet. Right now, subscribe to his channel. Leave him a supportive comment. I'll shut up now. Thank you for being part of this community. Remember, you are loved. You matter. I'll see you on the next ride. Ayo!